Hello and welcome to this edition of Back in History. In this edition, we continue with our series on the Nigeria Biafra War. In our previous video, we presented the full text of the speech of Major General Philip Effiong, broadcast on Radio Biafra at 4:40 p.m. on 12th day of January 1970. In the said speech, Philip Effiong, in consultation with the remaining members of the Biafran hierarchy, announced the cessation of hostilities and the surrender of Biafra to Nigeria. In today's edition, we present to you the speech of Olusegun Obasanjo following the surrender of Biafra. It is important to note that just as Philip Effiong made his speech on Radio Biafra, Olusegun Obasanjo also made his speech on the same Radio Biafra, after which the name of the radio station was immediately changed to Radio Nigeria Obodo Ukwu. Here is the full text of the broadcast speech of Olusegun Obasanjo. Quote, I, Colonel Olusegun Obasanjo, General Officer Commanding 3 Marine Commando Division, Nigerian Army, having accomplished the task given to me by the Head of State and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, wish to make this appeal to all our brothers and sisters in the eastern states who are in hiding to come out of hiding and settle in their respective normal places of abode. I also, in accordance with the broadcast of the Commander-in-Chief, Major General Gowon, appeal to soldiers who fought on the Biafran side and are still hiding to come out and surrender themselves and their weapons to the nearest federal troops location or police station. I do hereby guarantee the safety of all law-abiding citizens residents in the eastern states. He continued, I have ordered that tactical movement of all troops be stopped and that the Nigeria police should take over maintenance of law and order throughout the eastern states. Troops are garrisoned throughout the eastern states and are confined to barracks. Army cases of molestation by soldiers should be reported at any military or police stations for immediate action. All officers and men of the 3rd Marine Commando hereby send their regards and appreciation to the Commander-in-Chief, Major General Gowon, for his support and encouragement in our arduous task. He went on to say, still on quote, we also thank all citizens of Nigeria for their loyal support and steadfastness, and I will like to make particular mention of the cooperation and warm support we received from all the people of the eastern states. I hope that the magnanimity which had been shown by the Commander-in-Chief and all our people since the beginning of the war would be strengthened by the ready and willing cooperation shown by the people of the eastern states. Thank you all, and long live one united Nigeria. End of quote. Obasanjo has noted that his message was intended to reassure and give hope to the people of the defunct Republic of Biafra that, just as the Biafran armed forces had laid down their arms, the Nigerian armed forces had also laid down their arms. It was a message to allay fears and re-establish confidence and trust in the people. Obasanjo, as commander of the 3rd Marine Commando, had seen so much of the action in the field of war, with several of his men killed. Obasanjo himself cheated death on a number of occasions during his patrol of the war front. It is possible, therefore, that Obasanjo was happy that the war had been drawn to an end. He was the most senior officer on the Nigerian side who was available at the most crucial time to sign and receive for the federal government of Nigeria the surrender papers from Philip Effiong, who was the second in command to Ojukwu. At this time, Ojukwu had left Biafra and had flown with his family and close associates to Ivory Coast in the last flight from Biafra through Uli Airstrip. It is worthy of note that immediately after Obasanjo's speech on Radio Biafra, the Nigerian national anthem was played and the station changed its name to Radio Nigeria Obodo Ukwu, Obodo-Ukwu in Owerri was the authentic location of the radio station, but all along, since the commencement of the war till its surrender, Radio Biafra was said to be broadcasting from Enugu. This was a wartime measure taken by the leadership of Biafra to keep the radio station away from the prying eyes of the Nigerian troops. Radio Biafra was very critical to Biafra and the war. It was a veritable platform for the spread of propaganda, which also had a role in the war. Ojukwu even created the Directorate of Propaganda and the radio station in Obodo-Ukwu and one other location were veritable tools for Biafra. The radio stations were not in the mold of standard radio stations of today. They were makeshift stations with serious improvisations to make them work. To the amazement of many, the radio station worked perfectly and consistently relayed the needed broadcast on a daily basis. Radio Biafra was indeed one of the wonders of Biafra. Obasanjo was welcomed into the radio station by its manager by name Sam Nwaneri, who was a professional radio man and a gentleman. While there at the radio station in Obodo-Ukwu, Obasanjo and other soldiers from the Nigerian side met with a man whose name was very popular on Radio Biafra. The man's name was Okoko Ndem. In his book, My Command, at page 182, Obasanjo has noted thus, quote, "Before broadcasting, I asked Sam Nwaneri to summon all his staff for an address to give them reassurance and boost their confidence. While his staff were being summoned, my troops caught sight of Okoko Ndem, who had been propaganda personified on Radio Biafra, and they clustered around him in admiration. They asked him to broadcast in their hearing and for their delight and enjoyment over the radio. He agreed with smiles, acknowledging their compliments. Our soldiers posed for photographs with him and some other staff of the station. To allow for a repeat broadcast of my speech, I had to record it on tape in the recording station. The recording station was bare and comfortless. I had an uncomfortable chair, a bench, a microphone, and recording machines. I recorded my speech, shook hands with the staff, and departed for Owerri." End of quote. Obasanjo's mission in Owerri was for him to meet with Philip Effiong and his team and make the final preparations to depart to Port Harcourt Airport, and from there move to Dodan Barracks in Lagos, where Philip Effiong was to perform the official handover of the instrument of surrender of Biafra to Nigeria's military head of state at the time, General Yakubu Gowon. At exactly 5 p.m., Obasanjo, Philip Effiong, Sir Louis Mbanefo, Chief Justice of Biafra, Patrick Amadi, David Ogunewe, Matthew T. Mbu, Professor Chike Obi, the famous mathematician, Professor Eni Njoku, and a few others on the delegation of the defunct Biafra moved in a well-protected convoy to Port Harcourt and first had dinner at a popular presidential hotel before heading to the airport where a presidential jet was already waiting for them. The jet took off and landed in Lagos, and Philip Effiong and others were lodged at the popular Ikoyi Hotel, where they spent the night, and from there met with Gowon at Dodan Barracks the following day and formally handed over Biafra to the federal government. This was more or less a ceremonial event, as Biafra had already been surrendered at the field to Obasanjo and papers signed by all sides. But the ceremonial event was very significant. The journey through the civil war for both sides was not an easy journey. It was a journey which took a toll on both sides of the divide. Energy was dissipated on both sides. Lives were lost on both sides. Properties were destroyed, and there was palpable fear on both sides. It is possible that in their secret prayers, both sides prayed for an end to the war, and when the war finally ended, there must have been a sigh of relief on both sides. In our next episode, We shall say more about the Nigeria Biafra War with a view to preserving these historical facts for the benefit of today and the education or enlightenment of tomorrow. Thanks for watching this edition of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to the channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video. I remain your friend and host, Ekemini Udim.